honored to host three experts on this topic. We have Adrian Flores, College Transition Coordinator, Carmen High School of Science and Technology, Southeast Campus, and Norma Gutierrez, Director of College Counseling, St. Thomas Academy, and Raul Aguilar Jr., Program Coordinator at Circle of Indigenous Nations Multicultural Center for Academic Excellence, and the President-elect for the Minnesota Association for Counselors of Color. So on behalf of the Navigate 2020 event sponsor, GoToCollege Fairs, I'd like to extend a warm welcome to our panelists, and thank you so much again for taking the time to present on this important topic. Let's begin.
All right, so good morning, good afternoon, wherever you may be. Like Scott, thank you for the great introduction. My name is Adrian Flores, and I'm a college transition coordinator over at Carmen High School of Science and Technology in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So this is our topic. We're gonna, a brief overview as to different topics we're gonna discuss. So we're gonna briefly introduce ourselves, a little bit about who we are, our background, the different types of work we do at our respective institution, and then jump into some diversity myths and facts, and then just an overview of the college search process for our students and different things we see when working with an underrepresented population and the families, and then wrap it all up with some tools and resources that students can use as well as families, and then of course questions and answers. But first, some introductions. So we'll start with Norma.
Hi, good morning, everyone, or good afternoon. My name is Norma Gutierrez. I'm currently Director of College Counseling at St. Thomas Academy in Mendota Heights, Minnesota. I am originally from New Orleans. I'm first-generation student, and I have worked with multicultural students in undergraduate admissions at the University of Minnesota. I worked there for 16 and a half years, and then I switched over to the other side of the desk, and I've been at St. Thomas for the past 6 years. I'm happy to be here today.
Hi everyone, my name is Raul Aguilar Jr. and I am the interim coordinator for the Circle of Indigenous Nations here at the University of Minnesota Twin Cities, which is a student services office dedicated to supporting American Indian students. I'm an enrolled member with the Red Lake Nation up in northern Minnesota, but I grew up in Hayward, Wisconsin. Previously to my role here in the retention side, I worked with the Office of Admissions for the University of Minnesota for Twin Cities for 6 years. And I serve on as president-elect for this year's Minnesota Associations of Counselors of Color, MANAC, president-elect this year. And it is an organization dedicated to providing access to our underserved communities here in Minnesota.
And again, my name is Adrian Flores. I am a college transition coordinator at Carmen High School of Science and Technology Southeast Campus. We're located in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. We're a Milwaukee public school charter. We're one of 3 campuses, so I'm part of the Southeast campus. I'm originally from Los Angeles, made my way to Wisconsin, attended a small school, started working in higher education admissions for about 4 years, and then jumped over to the CBO, the community-based organization, working with a college access program through the Boys and Girls Clubs of Greater Milwaukee Graduation Plus before making my way to Carmen, where I'm wrapping up my first year here. So kind of a little experience there. I'm also part of WACAC, the Wisconsin Association of College Admissions Counselors, and their organization as well. So we'll get started with our diversity myths and facts. Norma.
So hello again. So lots of myths and facts here. So when selective colleges are reviewing applications, they will choose to admit a minority applicant over a white applicant. This is, of course, a myth. So how does race and ethnicity factor into college admissions? For selective colleges, it really is all about the application and showing the college that you're a good fit for that institution. There are many incorrect assumptions regarding race in the college admissions process. I've heard both arguments. I was admitted because of my race or ethnicity, and I've also heard that I was denied because of my race or ethnicity. The truth is, a student is admitted or denied because of what's in their application. And so colleges really want to see, what are you bringing to their campus community? Decisions really are made by factoring all the pieces of the application, including first and foremost, your academics, the rigor of your curriculum, grades, test scores, essays, letters of recommendation, awards, and accomplishments you have achieved. These are the reasons for being admitted, not because of the skin color. Another myth or fact is that colleges and universities use a quota system. That, of course, is another myth. Quotas are no longer allowed. They used to be allowed back in the 70s and prior, but that's no longer the case. This means that public colleges and universities can strive to have a certain percentage of multicultural students, but they cannot replace other applicants to reach that goal. Private schools that don't receive public funding have more flexibility, but they're still required not to discriminate. Next slide, please. Another myth or fact, the term diversity, minority, persons of color, and underrepresented mean the same in college admissions. This is a myth as well. Diversity and underrepresented don't just refer to race and ethnicity. They are broad and can refer to a student's age, intended major, sexual orientation, gender, socioeconomic status, geographic location, as well as race and ethnicity. So it really is a very broad topic and not just, like I said, race or ethnicity. All colleges look at my race and ethnicity as part of my application. Again, not all colleges and the universities in the US will consider an applicant's race or a factor in reviewing applications. In fact, 8 states have banned affirmative action. Most colleges and universities are concerned mainly with the student's success, meaning retention and graduation. In the end, if race is allowed to be considered at all, it's only one of the many factors college admissions officers can use when deciding to accept an applicant. Excuse me. Another myth or fact, someone can get into college because of their race, even though they are less qualified for admission. This, of course, is another myth and a huge no. As I stated in the previous slide, colleges are more concerned about a student's college career. Not to mention, college universities are prohibited from using different standards when evaluating applicants from students of different races. Another myth or fact, there are no scholarships specifically for first generation students or multicultural students. This, of course, is another myth. There are many great scholarships and opportunities available. Students, as soon as they start their freshman year in high school, can even start applying for those scholarships, and you can hold that money and use it for when you're ready to attend college. There are many scholarships specifically for first generation multicultural students, and later on in the slideshow presentation, Raul will be going over these opportunities with you. And then another, finally, last myth or fact, being a first generation student will negatively impact my college application. Stating you're a first generation college student is actually a good thing to disclose. If colleges know this fact about you, you'll be able to paint a better picture of who you are, about your background, and what your achievements mean in context of any obstacles you may or may not have overcome. And colleges will ask about your parents' and guardians' educational status, but it's just one factor to be considered when your application is read and evaluated, along with your academic performance, co-curricular activities, recommendations, and essays.
All right, couldn't find the unmute. So thank you, Norma, for that. So again, I'm going to talk a little bit about how I work, as well as some of our colleagues around the field work with our first generation underrepresented, as well as with our families. So the first thing is being aware and understanding what you don't know and just being okay with that. The biggest thing is we must be able to self-evaluate and understand the different things that we just don't know throughout the process. The thing is individualizing the process. There isn't one cookie cutter way to do this thing. We don't know the one fit be all end all program. So we just have to be aware that we have to almost individualize the process, make it unique and special to each one of our students. Going forward, understanding the wants, needs, and aspirations, getting to know each individual students and their academic profile, what support services they need, majors and minors, clubs and athletics, etc. You might have student A that wants that big school with the top Division I NCAA athletics versus another student just wants a small school that gets that one-on-one attention. Just understanding what that student needs and what they want throughout the process. And then the biggest thing that I've learned throughout my career is we have to help students build that college capital and help them develop that soft skills. It's easy for us as professionals in the field to send an email to an admissions professional, or, even be comfortable to come on and present about a topic like this. But for some of our students, this is the first time, and it's scary. And even just helping them on how to start an email is a huge thing, and helping them build that college capital. And then again, being realistic with self and student, understanding the profiles, understanding who you are as a professional and your strengths and weaknesses, and different things like that. Looking into a little bit more of that financial aid and into just understanding what this whole process is, understanding that this is all a long-term investment. I attended a conference a couple years ago where the speaker and presenter talked about something called time and investment. And he mentioned a term in Spanish where it translates into lo barato sale caro, which means the less expensive option is usually the more expensive option. A good example would be, for example, you would go to a dollar store and buy an Apple charger or just a generic phone charger. That charger in the long term is going to end up dying out, and you're going to end up buying more of these chargers if you were to just bought the more expensive option, which would last you a little bit longer. So you can actually kind of apply this to the college process in the sense where when students don't understand financial aid and they usually go to the cheaper quote unquote option, it might end up being the more expensive option if they end up transferring it, just different factors, if it's not a good fit and things like that. Another thing is a language barrier. A lot of our families are a lot of our first generation families don't understand quite that college language, and understanding the concept of the entire family goes to college. So something that we do at Carmen and in my previous jobs is we expose not only the student, but also the families through campus visits, tours, and workshops. At Carmen, I can attest that we have 2 workshops a semester geared towards both parents and students. So that way we start building that relationship between the families and the college process. And then just having on-site admissions events such as something we call the boot camp, which is just a week-long getting ready to start the process, scholarship events, and different seminars. This is something where I feel we can, all of us as professionals can continue growing on or continue building ourselves upon. And that is the relationship building process. We have to be able to give a million versions of ourselves to families and students. What I mean by that is, like I said at the beginning, not every student is going to react a certain way to what you know, or not every student's going to know what you're talking about. So you must be able to give them a million versions of you, depending on what that student needs. Sometimes the student needs a professional, sometimes they need a guidance counselor, sometimes they just need a friend and a confidant. You have to be ready and just give them different versions of yourself, and the same as the families, and just be open to those hard discussions. As long as you're open to those hard discussions, that's where you start building that help and trust with students and families. And then again, I always keep reiterating this, it's just know yourself, be open to the unknown, and just help make sure you're seeking out answers through the different professional networks. Don't assume a student doesn't need you. All of our students need us. Like I said, at multiple capacities at different levels, all of our students need us. And this is something day in and day out. You're not going to affect every student. You're not going to meet with every student. You're not going to build a great relationship with every student, and that is okay. What they do need is a person there for them, whether they're first generation, whether they've gone through the process. All of our students need us. So it's important that we are working with our students and just determining the capacity of our schools. So utilizing just the different messaging for families through newsletters, translations, PTAs, and just having that information readily available for them is huge. And just being able to direct them in the right way is going to be a huge step in the process. Differentiate based on student academic profile and interest. That just goes to the first point is just getting to know students and where they're at in the process, and also providing college readiness activities during instructional time. We at Carmen sometimes will include some college stuff into our curriculum. Again, I don't know the capacity of everybody in here, but that's something that we've seen a lot, and actually our English teachers are helping build their students' college essays within our curriculum, which is pretty cool that way. So our juniors are already starting to develop that college essay. And then something, if you have a great alumni network or if you have the capacity to, is tracking college persistence by college to determine just different trends, seeing where students are succeeding, seeing where students aren't succeeding, and just seeking out different opportunities there. For the college application timeline, we have different checklists and different things like that for students and staff to stay on top of our students, as well as for families when they have questions. It's an easy thing to refer to. You know, for example, it could be, oh, where's Adrian in his college process? I can easily just refer to a checklist and show Adrian's parents as to where he's at on that. And then we also partner a lot with the local colleges in the Milwaukee area. We have a good mix of different state schools, of different small privates, as well as we have a lot of regional representatives for out-of-state colleges. So we do partner with them a lot. And something that we've seen is that it helps tremendously to build that trust in that college. So a good example would be our local college, University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee. Their representatives are at our different events almost every week, but they're able just to build that trust. So when students and families make that first step on campus, or they're ready to make that first deposit, they're able to see that familiar face and maybe able to see that familiarity with that representative. Different things you can do together with the local colleges, as well as just with different organizations in the area, is just form different panels. So that way professionals are telling their story and you're not telling the story for them. Excuse me. Bringing them on your campus or on your workshop days and help include them in the application in the FAFSA process. They are professionals, so they can definitely help out in which way. Parents are huge drivers for this. Our parents love to see more of the workshops, so we have them come speak at parent workshops. We have this last fall, we did a parent-only college fair, which is very well attended, and the parents got to ask those tough questions that normally students would not ask, things like that. And of course, the general college tours, on-site admissions, and then partnering with CBOs, community-based organizations, or college-bound organizations has been another key success for us. So then I'll transfer this over to Raul.
My mute button was on. Thank you, Adrian. And to really kind of highlight and kind of go into a little bit more detail about what the timeline looks like for our high school students and family members, to start thinking about this timeline. This is something that helped me a lot. I was a first generation college student. My father immigrated from Mexico and my mother grew up on the Red Lake Reservation. So not having family members that didn't go to college, I really needed a timeline. I needed to look at folks exactly who Adrian mentioned, those college admissions counselors, those high school guidance counselors, to really kind of help shape my career into college education. And so what you should really be thinking about is planning your coursework, setting yourself up for success. A college admissions counselor came out to my middle school and gave a presentation. It was like, you need 4 years of English, 3 years of math. And I used that as a checklist. I kept that checklist throughout my high school career, and I really needed that because I wanted to make sure that I was the first in my family to go to college. So plan out those coursework, work with everybody, visit campus when possible during your sophomore year. Ask your college mentors, teachers, and coaches and parents to figure out what did they study. Start thinking about these questions, because in your sophomore year, you're going to want to really make sure you keep your options open and have those varieties there. During your junior year, you should really start exploring colleges. Do some of your research, start narrowing down your decisions, take those ACTs or SATs, figure out what schools even need them and what can you do with them and what are those scores that you need to take. Schedule formal visits, get to know your high school, your college representatives. I loved, as a college admissions counselor, getting to know my students, getting to know their family members, because we were able to shape the experience of what our students are really looking for in their college future. So make sure you're getting to know them, because we do help students really kind of shape where they're wanting to go, what are they wanting to do, and really make sure that we're building them up for success. Let's see here. And then that senior year, start visiting over summer really make a list of your schools or where you're wanting to go to, because right now you're going to want to make sure you see yourself on that university or college. Make sure you're making deadlines. Understand college lingo. That was a big thing for me, because my parents were like, I have no clue, Raul. Good luck. And so making sure you understand, what does priority mean? What does a regular deadline mean? What do these test dates mean? Getting in your test dates by certain deadlines. So start mapping out that college career during that summer there, so then that way you can make sure you're getting everything in on time, because you'll realize that deadlines are pretty important and you're going to want to make sure that you get everything in on time. And then that fall and winter there of your senior year, make sure you're taking those ACTs or SATs again and apply for college. October is when FAFSA comes available, that free application for federal student aid. So you're going to want to make sure that you get everything in on that, because financing college is something that is very important, and you're going to want to make sure you're ready for it and you understand what that process is, and what the scholarships mean. So meet with your high school admission, your college admissions counselor, meet with your high school guidance counselor, in making sure that you're looking for those scholarships on where you should start applying for. As Norma mentioned, you can start applying early on and save those for your college there, but you're going to want to make sure that you're getting those out there, because it is great to really think about, for 1 hour writing an essay for a scholarship, you got paid maybe $1,000 that hour. I'm like, oh, I would love that. So make sure you take a look at those. But in your springtime of your college, of your senior year, make sure you start narrowing down those options. When you start getting those admissions letters in, make sure you're visiting those campuses, seeing, ooh, can I see myself here? Now here are those big details. What are those financial aid packages that I need? Are you offering me any scholarships? Get to know your faculty members, get to know who you're going to be in. If you're admitted into a specific program, take a look at that program, get to know those people in there, because I work on the college side now. So I'm really coaching my students to really get to know who their faculty are, because really they're going to be the ones writing those letters of recommendation for future careers afterwards too. So this is for parents to really kind of educate your student on how to start building those careers in your resume up there, and realize that May 1st is that final choice for the national deadline to confirm to a university. And then over that summer after your senior year, start submitting your final information to the college that you chose to. But there's multiple ways to really apply for colleges too. Realizing that there's 3 major sites that colleges do accept applications. So there's the Common App, the Coalition application, the Universal College application, and then there's a specific one for those specific colleges. So if you're looking at a specific institution and they're not part of these organizations, you're going to want to make sure that you're taking a look at them and apply for those specific colleges. Realize that there's a lot of colleges and universities that are part of these, and sometimes it's a one application that submits to multiple institutions. So take a look at them and see what your options are, and get to know those college admissions counselors, because they'll be able to explain each one of those applications a little bit more in detail. But like I said, you're going to want to make sure that you're really preparing. Overall, your high school career is really going to be preparing. Take a look at those test preparation sites. Get to know how you can prepare for your ACTs. Again, ask, does this college or university require an ACT or an SAT? And how do I start prepping to make sure that I'm putting my best self out there? Because sometimes college universities in applications also be submitted for review for scholarships. So I always coach my students is make sure that the application is picture perfect for scholarships, because you're going to want to make sure you're putting your best stuff out there. You're telling your whole story, because that's for us as admissions counselors to really understand who you are as a student, what your story was, and how we can advocate for you for the admissions process. So make sure you're getting to know these sites and how you can prepare yourself. And then take a look at those campus visits. Like I said, visit them. It's really great. I know myself, I was like, oh, can I see myself here? Can I be at the big university? I grew up in a really small town, so I wanted a big university. I wanted a lot of options. As a first generation college student, I wanted to see, ooh, I had 6 organizations in my student organizations in my high school. I wanted to make sure. I went to a university that had well over 600 at the time. Now we have over 1,000. So it keeps growing, it keeps getting bigger, but we want to make sure that you have options to really kind of showcase where you can grow into yourself. So visit those colleges and universities. Research, what are the opportunities do they have? Some of them have overnight visit programs. Some of them have fly-in programs. We listed a few of those programs sites in our presentation, so then that way you can take a look at, ooh, I want to visit this state and see what program has, or college or university has a fly-in program for that. Talk to current faculty and staff and students, because realize when you go to campus and you're talking to those students, you're hearing what the current students are really experiencing. And you're going to want to make sure you get that, because again, they're going to be the ones that you're going to be studying with. They're going to be the ones that are going to be supporting you through college. I know for me personally, when I went to college, I had a huge support system. And I was glad, because that was my home away from home. And my friends were really able to support me. But I got to know them throughout my time here. And I got to know other students that were coming into the university. And that really helped build that family culture there. And especially as a Latinx family, it was really big to build familia on campus. And so to have that is really, is key to really make sure that you're finding yourself at those institutions. So connect with your multicultural admissions counselor, visit the diversity offices and see how we can support you. I work for a multicultural center for academic excellence. So a multicultural center dedicated to supporting and retaining our students. And so connect with them, see what engagement opportunities, what kind of leadership opportunities you can be involved in. Because then once you're on campus, you're building that community again, and you're really connecting and building that family. And that's the reason why we always say, visit campus, because you'll get to find your home away from home. And this goes right into the concepts of what we're really talking about, is finding the right fit, seeing where you're at, asking those questions. I know as a first generation college student, I was calling FAFSA all the time. What does this word mean? I have no clue. Can you explain these? My parents don't know. What does this program mean? Calling those colleges and university, seeing what the major is, what do they offer? What kind of support services am I going to make sure that it's be available for me to succeed at this institution? So those are some really kind of questions that you really should start thinking about when you're visiting campuses. What does the community feel like? What are some clubs and organizations that you can be a part of? Again, I really wanted to be a part of organizations. I wanted to build leadership skills. I wanted to really see myself going so I could set a pathway for my younger brothers as the oldest of my family. Was this institution going to help pay for college for me? So financial fit. Again, you're going to want to make sure that you're weighing out those options and asking yourself those questions. And a big question is, would I be happy here? And will this institution help me thrive? So those are some big areas that you're going to want to take a look at. And again, financial aid, cost of attendance. Take a look at what are the cost of applications, because realize a lot of things start to add up. And so when we're talking about applying for scholarships, applying for financial aid, these are the things that are going to start helping you when you apply for colleges and attend college. So some of the big costs that comes with applications, application fees, housing fees, testing fees, enrollment fees. A lot of times that students just don't really understand what those fees mean, but when you're applying for multiple institutions, they do add up. And the reason why we say start prepping your colleges and the list of areas that you want to go to, so that way you can start narrowing down those finance expenses. And then when you enroll into an institution, look at the cost of attendance, your tuition, fees, your books, supplies, your room and board, Is there transportation on campus? Do I have to pay for parking? These are some areas that really start to add up, and which is why we want to make sure that students know of these costs, and which is why we educate our families to really understand them. And we did add in some of those links on how can you start balancing those out, and the price calculators to compare and contrast against other institutions too when you're starting to put down your decisions there. So here's a big site. And again, we really want to express ways to really support yourself, but also make sure that you're getting that free application for federal student aid. It opens in October in your senior year for if you're applying for college for that next fall. And it's FAFSA.ed.gov. Make sure you're taking a look at it. And because you're going to want to make sure you apply for it, because your college and universities are going to need that to figure out how are they going to package you, what kind of scholarships they can give for you. Scholarship organizations sometimes need this information in order to see if they can award you. So you're going to want to make sure you apply for it and get that out there, because again, this is going to help fund your college experience and help you understand that. And if you don't understand, they probably have a chat live. They probably have a call number. I know for me, like I said, I was always on that phone calling them away because my mom was like, I have no clue. Good luck. So please make sure you're taking a look at those and really ask those questions. And don't be afraid to ask questions, because you're really not going to understand unless you start asking those questions. And that was a big learning curve for me. It's because I wanted to make sure I was setting myself up for success. And so we added in, for the last couple slides here, we added in some major site for scholarships. Again, the reason why we're providing a lot of big sites for you to, and links to get to know scholarships, is because we're wanting to make sure this is as detailed as possible, that you have resources to really kind of look through. These are major sites that students are able to look at, but then also some of them that are dedicated to our multicultural students and our Indigenous students, to really focus in on some ethnic-based scholarships, but take a look at them. There's some of them that are major-based, college-based, alumni-based, history-based. Really take a look at them, because you really don't understand what they're for. So research them, and you will see that there's a world of opportunities within scholarships. And a lot of these scholarships do go unused. So apply for as many as you can, because you really don't know what you're going to get unless you try. And that was one thing that I really wanted to make sure that I took in charge of. So then again, we had our last slide here, really focusing on our scholarships dedicated to our ethnic-based students. So, thank you.
All right, and then here are just some FAQs, frequently asked questions, that we drew up from just the different slides and through discussions and things we've seen and trends. Again, will I be admitted or not admitted because of race and ethnicity? What support services will help me at predominantly white institutions? When I should start the college search process? Are there any scholarships specifically for students of color? How can I, as a parent or guardian, support my child? And I think these questions, you can easily answer them through the presentation, through the different links provided, as well as the different resources provided, but as well as we can definitely dig in depth a little bit more as well if you have any specific or more questions about this. So I'll turn it over to Scott.
Okay, thank you. Some really excellent information there. I want to thank our panelists for providing their expertise here. And a lot of questions I know that have been coming up through the Q&A feature here in Zoom. So make sure that you have that open and take a look at some of the answered questions. So one of the big things I'll just remind everybody is that this is being recorded. So there was a lot of information in those slides, especially in those links to those other websites. The recording will be available tomorrow through virtual.GoToCollegeFairs.com. So the link that you chose to get into the session will become the link that goes to the recording tomorrow. So be aware of that, and so you can listen to it again and share that with others, of course. So let's go ahead and jump into some of the questions that have been posted up here. So I think the first thing I wanted to ask about, some people were asking about what does it mean to be multicultural and what does it mean to be a first generation college student? How do colleges look at students? Is there a real definition, and what varieties or how does that vary between colleges?
I feel like for first generation, it really is it's a personal question. And it's not just so technical that my father didn't go to college, but my mother did, or my mother went to college, and my father did. It really is, what do your parents truly understand the college process? Do they really get that, you know, you really have to start in your freshman year, and how important it is, you know, as we discussed, the course selection, keeping your grades up, getting involved. And if your parents went to school in a different country, the school system is completely different there than it is here. So it really is more, not the technicalities, but do your parents truly understand and grasp what all the things that you need to do to prepare yourself and prepare your application when you come your senior year to apply, or not?
Thank you. So then another big question here is, what about undocumented students? Are there resources out there for them? What steps should they take, and what should they be aware of with their given situation?
Yeah, so I can attest as to like the experiences I've had with working with undocumented students. The first thing is looking for different schools that are quote undocumented student friendly, that give a lot of institutional aid and a lot of support for undocumented students, DACA and or Dreamers. A good resource for that is to start looking at the dream.us. They have different partner scholarships throughout different schools around the country. For example, one of my students this year won the scholarship, so she'll be heading to Trinity Washington University on a full ride scholarship. So that's a huge resource for her for that. So there's a lot of resources out there. You just have to do some research. So starting off with scholarships and starting at the local institutions, a lot of small private colleges, you know, don't be scared with the sticker price. A lot of those small private institutions can help undocumented students through institutional funding and institutional aid.
Great, thank you. Another question came up and I believe this would be for international students as well as immigrant students. Do colleges have different policies regarding where they're coming from?
Colleges will ask the question if you are a U.S. citizen, or if you're an international student, and many colleges do have two different application processes and different scholarships for those two different types of students.
Great. And do the requirements change based on the major that you're trying to come in to a school with?
For the most part, yes, depending on what major it is. For example, the one thing I'm looking at is thinking is nursing. That's a popular major for a lot of our students. They're going to be looking heavy into the sciences, into the math. Engineering, they're going to need a specific math grade as well as on the ACT and or SAT. So yes, so different colleges have different requirements as to specific majors and being admitted into that major or into that school of for that specific program.
Great, thank you. What else do we have here? So Adrian, you also mentioned using a checklist for students to lead them through in their status. So what types of things are really on that checklist, and is that checklist available to students?
Yeah, for sure. So I can share a little bit of the template we have that we use for our students, but on that checklist, it's really user-friendly, and it's really just as much as a student wants to put. So for example, we on our different columns and different tabs, and it's a Google sheet, so everyone, myself and the college office, can look at my caseloads, and their teachers can look at it. So basically it's their one-stop shop. We have them put their login information for the different applications because as we all know, our students sometimes tend to forget. As myself, I got locked out of my my Google email a couple of days ago. We have them put in their application login, just simple stuff like that. And then, for example, we have them put transcripts sent on X amount date, ACT scores requested on X amount date. And it just holds them accountable and helps them see that there's different steps to the process, and it's not just easy as coming into the college and career office and saying, hey, send my transcripts. Like, there's different steps to this. So just different things on the checklist I can think off the top of my head. I can definitely share it with you if you want to ask a question, or if you want to drop your email into the Q&A. Just like I said, login information, ACT scores, when they were sent, when the transcripts were sent, ID numbers, admission status, just different things like that. So that way it's like a one-stop shop for both students, or for everybody, for students, families, college counselors, CBO coordinators, whoever it may be. So I'm more than happy to share the template we have that we use at Carmen to help you guys out. But like I said, it's a one-stop shop with all the information you need for the applications.
Great, thank you. So the other question, this is obviously very timely, is can you suggest methods for students to visit colleges virtually, obviously since most schools are not offering on-campus tours and visit programs right now?
Many colleges have created really awesome virtual tours, and many of the admissions reps have virtual meetings and just go on their website and say you want to meet with them. It's a great way to get to know the school, ask some questions. Obviously, we wish you could be on campus and actually visit physically, but I really do feel like the colleges have really stepped up and tried to make their virtual tours 100% better.
And also realize that colleges and universities really want to make sure that you get to know you get your information. So we do tailor the experience for you. So if you're looking to meet with like resources like my office or faculty and staff, we do help set up those virtual meetings as well. And that's something that I've been able to do during my time here in virtual experience now, and really getting to know the incoming students now.
And for any seniors out there or soon-to-be seniors, definitely emailing, like Raul said and Norma said, emailing your admissions rep. They're more than happy to meet with you or families in this virtual world. It's ever-changing, it's ever-adapting, but again, you start setting up those meetings. We have a couple of our juniors that are setting up meetings with some schools out east virtually, and they've gotten extremely successful. And for any professionals out there, start reaching out to admissions reps and seeing if they can do a virtual school visit. We've had 3 this last 2 weeks, actually. We've had 3, and usually about 15, 20 students sign up. The only thing is we ask for students and staff is just be a little flexible. This is an ever-changing world, ever-changing scenario. So just the more flexible you are, the more a little bit more success you'll get. So just be flexible, be open, and admissions counselors and professionals are more than happy to meet with you and your families.
Great. Susan asked, what scholarship applications allow high school freshmen to apply for? And I think I heard that mentioned before about one of our speakers here mentioned about applying early for scholarships and being able to keep that money. Is that correct?
I'm sorry?
Someone had said, I forget who it was that mentioned that you can apply for scholarships early. You don't have to be a junior or senior. Susan asked about applying, trying to get scholarships as a freshman.
Right. Even if you just do a simple Google search, I mean, FastWeb, Raise Me, those are just a couple of resources, but there are so many odd scholarships out there. If you just do a simple Google search, there's one like doing a video that I think it is, it's either Coke, Mountain Dew. Mountain Dew has a video. And so they're just little one-offs, and those scholarships are usually, $500, $100, $200, but those little ones will add up. And if you start doing it your freshman year, you can take that money, you'll have a nice chunk of change to help you when you go to college. So again, simple Google search, you can find a lot of scholarships.
Yeah, and another resource is to piggyback on that is looking at some of the local colleges. Some of them offer pre-college program, and if you stick with it all 4 years, it might offer some scholarship money. But if, for example, we have here programs for students that are really interested in engineering, and if they complete it by the end, they'll get $1,000 to that respective institution. So that's another good way, is just signing up for those pre-college programs and those summer programs. Like Norma said, simple Google search will lead you a long way. So just make sure you're always just kind of constantly checking, and like we said, being flexible and open to different opportunities out there.
And if your high school has a college and career office, I'm sure they have lots of scholarships available there. Some schools use like a Naviance, they have scholarships there. So again, start with your school and then see what they can offer you. And then if not, again, simple Google search.
Mm-hmm. And then take a look at your community. I know I grew up in a small town, and so we had community scholarships just from overall businesses helping to support our students go to college. And we were able to keep those and hold on to them. So make sure you're asking your high school guidance counselor to help navigate those processes.
Someone anonymously asked, are there schools that offer classes in Spanish? It's the most difficult thing for students are language barriers, and it's the unknown.
Unfortunately, not that I know of, other than if you're going to be a Spanish major. And if your language skills are such that you're not quite ready for the intensity of the college experience because it is in a different language, there are some colleges that have a language learner program that kind of help you fine-tune your English skills to get you better prepared for the rigor of the four-year college experience.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. So this may be a little broad, but Angela asks, when visiting colleges, what questions should you ask?
All questions. At the college visit, I tell students all the time, this is your time to get as much information as possible. You know, no question is a dumb question when you're on a college campus, because they're there to serve students and families. And I always stress that, and the family. You know, we would visit these big universities, and some students would ask, is there a bathroom in the dorms? And that's an important question. Someone's got to use a bathroom. So just any question that you have, ask it. And they'll give you an answer. They'll make sure to find someone that will get you an answer. Ask all and any questions that pertain to your process. Again, it isn't your friend's process, isn't to your parents' process. It'll be your process. Yes, I stress the family goals, but ultimately it's going to impact the student. So make sure you're asking all and any questions. Raul, you want to add into that?
Yeah, no, for sure. Really ask those questions, because it is going to be your experience. You're going to want to make sure that you know where your community's at, where support services that you're going to, where you're going to find your new friends and family, because that's exactly what I really wanted to make sure that I had when I went to the University of Minnesota. And I've been here 12 years and I'm still learning things and still asking questions. So make sure that you still keep doing that, because again, you won't ever know unless you ask.
That's a great point. And the next question I had on here is, it says, if you were to describe one thing about your student body chemistry between them and the students, what would it be? I'll also want to expand on that and say, what other ways, if you're checking out a college, do you hear from the students, or is there a way so that they can get another point of view, and not just necessarily from staff or the admissions office, but to be able to communicate with students so they could hear directly about what their experience has been?
Yeah, it really depends on the college or university too. Some colleges host like special visit days, special campus events. So then that way you can come to their institution and either sit down with a faculty member or a staff member, or hang out with the student. That's some of the best experiences and the most like authentic and real experiences that you're going to really hear and learn about that institution. A lot of our students really love getting to know our students on campus, so prospective students, so high school seniors and juniors really coming to campus and getting to hang out with some of the students. We have a VIP leadership retreat that students get to hang out for 2 nights and 3 days with current students, and they love it. It's so many students really get to hear and learn the experience and see themselves at the university and participate in multiple programs.
Yeah, and to piggyback on that, we actually have partnered with Carroll University in Waukesha, Wisconsin, where we took about 18 students there for an overnight trip. So they do a lot of overnight. So partnering with those local colleges and seeing what they can do with your students is something huge. But like Rose said, getting that one-on-one perspective from a student or from someone other than an admissions professional is going to be huge in the process, because hopefully one day you'll be in their shoes at that institution. So definitely ask during the visit or during the options if you can speak with the student or and different things like that. But we have different partnerships we do with Carroll University, University of Wisconsin, Milwaukee, where we sign up for their student-led programming, and it's actually a huge success. Whether the student goes there or not, I still see that as a success, because it's able to give them a perspective as to what they like, what they don't like, and different things like that.
And then also when you realize when you visit campus and you ask for a tour, the majority of the time you're going to get a student to help guide that tour experience. And so you're getting an authentic experience from one of the current students to showcase campus to you and tell their story. And you'll get a chance to ask all those questions to a current student.
Great. So someone's asking about if you want to study overseas, how do you still get close to college even if you're not able to really visit it? You have any thoughts there?
It's really going to be those virtual experiences. So like Norma stated earlier, a lot of the colleges and universities are building up those virtual experiences and getting to have a virtual campus tour. And they're really great. Check out those colleges and universities and see what they can do for you and tailor that experience, especially if you can't make it here, but what can we do to still make that experience really great for you?
This may have been covered, but someone asked, what age or year in high school should you register for FAFSA? And is there a limitation on how early you can register?
So the FAFSA opens up October 1st of the student's senior year. So this year it'll be October 1st, 2020 for class of 2021. So that's kind of like the start date for that. As far as timeline, I always tell students the sooner the better, because some of the state funding at your respective state does run out. So definitely the sooner the better. But you can start doing different things like setting up your FSA ID, which is essentially like think about it like your bank login. That's the one you'll use for FAFSA. So you can start setting that up. And then Norm Monroe, correct me if I'm wrong, as early as August 1st. So you can start setting that up, and that'll kind of get you started on the process. So first that would be, like I said, something called the FSA ID, and that's like your login into FAFSA, and that'll allow you to sign the FAFSA. That login will stay with you all 4 years. So that is, like I mentioned, second, that is on the checklist. That is something you can add on that checklist, is your FSA ID.
And don't forget that it's not just the student that has to create it. One of your parents also has to create their FAFSA ID.
Okay, great. What advice would you give to students where at their school college readiness is poorly taught and many students don't go on to college? You know, you have all provided some great resources, but if it's not, Michaela was asking this, so it's apparently not at her local school. Any other resources you would point her to?
I guess it depends on the school and depends on your city and your state. You know, I think here in Minnesota, we're lucky that there's TRIO programs in the communities. We also have lots of other college-bound types of programs. The Minnesota Department of Education also has lots of resources. So depending on your state, look at your state's Board of Education web pages, and a lot of times they have programs set up for, in the month of October, it's the college applying program all through the month of October. I know one person had asked, is there a cost to applying for colleges? Many colleges do have an application fee, but if your state participates in this college going process in the month of October in the fall, a lot of application fees are waived. And some colleges will also waive application fees if your family just can't afford it. It's really easy to get an application fee waiver.
Great. So, Tabitha's asking to please share that checklist, Adrian.
Will do.
And someone's asking if we're going to put this on YouTube for just in case. It won't be on YouTube, just a reminder. The recording will be at the virtual.GoToCollegeFairs.com link. But don't look on it for YouTube for it. If we don't know what major we want or which career program we want to go into, where's a good place to start? I think that's a whole a webinar in and of itself.
Yeah.
So the most popular major actually in college is undecided. So if you don't know where you want to go, it's fine. But a good place to start is one, obviously going into your college or your counselor's office and just having a discussion with them. Being honest with yourself is the biggest thing, and just seeing kind of your own profile as a student. You know, if you're struggling in certain subject areas and things like that. Sometimes that won't be a good fit for you. There are different matching resources. College Greenlight, I believe, has one, as well as if your school uses Naviance, that is one we use as well. And then also, I forget the link of it, but it's called Big Picture, and the Big Picture, oh, I'm sorry, Career Cruising. That's another one that'll kind of point you in a certain way. But when you answer these questionnaires, be honest with yourself. Be truthful. If you're failing math, put that you're failing math. If you're struggling in English, put that you're struggling in English, or whatever the case may be. And that'll give you a good idea as to like where, you know, what careers might be good fits. As the other thing too is as simple as, what's your favorite subject? That's something we use with our students all the time. We have a student who really wanted to be a nurse, and we asked them, what's your least favorite subject? He's like, well, I really hate anatomy. It's like, okay, that's, you know, it might not add up. Or another student goes, my favorite subject is math, and I want to do something in math. And now they got admitted into a statistics program at University of Wisconsin. So just being open with yourself and finding that best academic fit for yourself.
Mm-hmm. And then when you're in college, seek out resources like Support Student Services Office, Career Readiness offices, career planning. There's like majors and minors expos that you could really go to and get to know different majors and minors, because sometimes colleges will give you a little bit of wiggle room, because again, like Adrian said, the most common one to go to college is undecided major. I could let you know I switched my major 3 times before majoring in communications. Your academic advisor, support offices, just like my office, will help guide those careers for you, or that path for you, and help you take courses and classes that may be a fit for you, that you're interested in, and then test them out. Again, you may change your, it's not may, you will. The colleges, you will change those, because you'll get to chance to take courses and classes, and they just may not be the right fit for you at the time. I know I really wanted to do business, and it was not for me.
Excellent. Well, I thank all of our panelists here for talking today. Again, this concludes our expert presentation entitled Multicultural and First Generation Students, College Enrollment Resources and Mentorship. Remember that you can come back to the event page. This will be uploaded tomorrow. Overnight it'll be uploaded, so it'll be available tomorrow, so you can replay it, because there was a ton of great information. The slides also had some great links in there as well. So thank you once again to Adrian, Norma, and Raul. Really appreciate your expertise here. Lastly, please explore your college options in our virtual college fair. We have hundreds of interactive virtual booths where you can watch videos, download materials, and even chat live with admissions representatives from that institution. You'll also find that some booths have a schedule of their own live stream video presentations. So make sure you visit that today, or come back while the event is still live to enjoy these experiences. Thank you once again. Have a great day. Take care now.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.